Today, we are diving deep into a framework that, honestly, governs the most successful brands on the planet. It operates way beneath the surface of logic, in the oldest parts of our brain. This is the limbic priming architecture. Just let that sink in for a moment. Right now, this very second, your brand is probably invisible. Why? Because your ad is being deleted from the human brain before it even has a chance to reach the conscious mind. Your customer, they've already decided if they're going to buy from you before they've even truly seen what you're selling, before they've seen the price, before they've read a single feature. They made that call in the limbic system of their brain. So you've probably been told that logic is the key to conversion, that if your data is just compelling enough, a yes is pretty much guaranteed. Well, we call this the rationality illusion. It's the fundamental misunderstanding that causes most marketing to just fail. The truth is, you're not in the information business, you're in the state management business. Okay, let's map out where we're headed. We're going to journey through 6 stages. First, we'll totally deconstruct that illusion of rationality. Then, we'll look at the rise of resonance, why it's become a survival skill in all this digital noise. After that, we'll get into the guts of the Limbic Priming Engine itself, piece by piece. Then we'll dig into the deep psychology of safety that makes it all tick. And we're going to spend some real time here, because this is the key to everything else. And then we'll get practical, mapping out how to engineer this atmosphere yourself before finally landing on the core insight, the pull toward value. So let's start with the big problem. The reason so many brands, even with a fantastic product, just can't seem to connect. They're stuck in the rationality illusion, this deep-seated belief that people make decisions based on logic. Now check this out, because this slide really lays it all bare. Most brands, they're trying to talk to the accountant in their customer's head. They're throwing facts, data, logical arguments, trying to persuade. But the real decision maker, it's not the accountant, it's the child. It's the emotional, intuitive, limbic part of the brain that runs on feeling and resonance. So while you're busy building this airtight logical case for the accountant, the child has already gotten bored and wandered off. Think about buying a car. The accountant's there crunching the numbers on miles per gallon and safety ratings. But it's the child who feels that jolt of excitement, imagining driving it down some beautiful coastal highway. The brands that win, they always talk to the child first. And this just nails the core paradox, doesn't it? Logic is a cold, slow process. It's the part of our brain that's actively looking for reasons to say no, to find the flaws. So the more data you throw at someone, the more you fire up their skepticism. The old sales gurus always talked about handling objections at the end of a pitch. Yeah, that's a losing battle these days. To win now, you have to prevent objections from ever even forming. You have to anchor the customer emotionally, way before they ever see a price tag. All right, let's move on and see how this all connects. This shift from logic to emotion, it isn't just some clever tactic. It's a necessary evolution, and it was born from the brutal reality of our digital world. This is the world we're all swimming in. Digital desensitization. Just think about that number, 13 milliseconds. That is faster than you can blink. That's how fast the modern brain spots something as an ad. And the second it does, bam, the logical guard goes up. The walls of skepticism are built, and the questions just start firing. What are they trying to sell me? Is this legit? What's the catch? Brands were basically just shouting into a storm. And the tragedy wasn't that no one was listening. It's that our brains were actively working not to listen. But this crisis gave rise to a whole new kind of leader, the emotional architect. These folks understood that in a world of infinite automated noise, empathy is the only signal that actually cuts through. They got it. A brand isn't just a solution, it's an atmosphere. This was the moment that emotional anchoring went from a creative nice-to-have to a hardcore survival discipline. Your marketing's first job isn't to inform, it's to prime. It's to create an emotional state where information can finally be received with openness, not skepticism. So here's the crucial point. It's this fundamental shift from persuasion to resonance, from selling to anchoring. It's realizing that the buyer isn't scrolling your website looking for a data sheet. They are looking for relief. Relief from a pain point, relief from a fear, or, the relief of finally getting something they've deeply wanted. And that feeling of relief, it's an emotional state, not a logical conclusion. And that brings us to the core mechanism itself. This system, it's not a pitch deck. It's not a sales funnel in the way you're used to thinking about it. It's an engine. And it's designed to create a very deliberate, 4-stage atmospheric shift inside the mind of the viewer. These are the 4 stages of the engine, and we're going to break down every single one. The affective hook, sensory validation, psychological safety, and then only at the very end, logic injection. And you've got to notice the order here. It is absolutely designed to speak to the child first and the accountant last. Stage 1. This all happens in the first 5 seconds. Seriously. In this tiny, critical window, you don't talk about your product. You don't list features. You establish the frequency. You use a single powerful image or a line of text or a sound that mirrors the user's deepest desire or their biggest pain point. What you're doing is calibrating their brain to a specific emotional state. You're telling them without words, hey, I get you. It could be the serene color palette of a wellness app that instantly calms down an anxious user. Or maybe it's the aggressive, fast-paced editing of a sports ad that mirrors an athlete's ambition. You're not selling yet, you're just tuning their brain to the right station. Okay, so once that hook is set, you move to sensory validation. This is where you use the atmosphere to prove that that initial feeling is real, that it's trustworthy. You do this through a deliberate choice of music, the color palette, the rhythm of a voiceover in a video. I mean, picture a luxury brand, right? The music is probably classical, the colors are muted and rich, the voiceover is slow, deliberate. Every single element is another brick in this sanctuary you're building, telling the viewer, you're sophisticated, you're discerning, you belong here. It's all about deepening that initial feeling, making it a tangible, believable space for them. And this, right here, is where the anchor is truly set. Stage 3 is all about establishing psychological safety. You prove you're an ally, not just a vendor. And how do you do that? Through human-first stories. You show them that people like us are already here, and they're thriving. This isn't about testimonials listing off features. It's about stories that reflect their own journey, their own struggles, their own dreams. When a person feels seen and understood by a community, that logical guard we talked about, it finally starts to come down. They shift from a state of evaluation to a state of belonging. Now, and I mean only now, do you show the offer. This is stage 4, logic injection. But here's the critical difference. Think about the state of mind that's receiving it. The brain that's now seeing your price and features is no longer that skeptical accountant from the beginning. Nope, it's the aligned partner. The decision? It's already been made on an emotional level. The logic is just a confirmation now, a final box to tick for a decision that already feels right, feels safe, feels like coming home. So why does this 4-stage process work so powerfully? Look, it's not manipulation, not at all. It's built on a deep understanding of fundamental human psychology and our innate, powerful, and often overlooked need for safety. At the heart of it all is this cognitive bias called the affect heuristic. It sounds kind of technical, but it's actually super simple. It's a mental shortcut our brains are literally hardwired to use. We use our current feeling as the main piece of data for judging everything around us. So if the atmosphere you've created makes me feel safe and inspired and understood, my brain will automatically start looking for reasons why your product is also safe and inspired and the right choice for me. I'm not hunting for flaws anymore. I'm searching for confirmation of the good feeling I already have. And that is why it all circles back to this one central truth. We don't buy products, we buy relief. We buy the feeling of the story, and then we transfer that good feeling onto the product or service. Every metric, every click, every engagement spike, it's just a digital record of a human being deciding to move from a guarded, skeptical state to an open, trusting one. It's about creating an environment where it feels safe to believe again, because in an environment of perceived safety, the heart gives the mind permission to agree. Okay, so theory is great, but how do you actually do this? This is an abstract art. It's a form of engineering. So let's look at the practical framework for applying these principles to build your own resonant atmosphere. It really boils down into 3 actionable steps. First, you have to audit the frequency, right? You can't transmit a feeling you haven't identified. Second, you engineer the hook to capture that feeling in those critical first 5 seconds. And third, you implement the sensory bridge, using design and sound and story to keep that feeling going long enough for trust to actually form. Step 1 is the most critical. You have to stop asking what words to use and start asking what vibration you need to send. So what is the emotional home of your customer? Is it that driving force of ambition? Is it the deep need for security, that defiant energy of rebellion, the warmth of connection, or the calm of serenity? This becomes your anchor. A brand like Nike, it lives in ambition. A brand like Volvo, it lives in security. Harley-Davidson practically wrote the book on the language of rebellion. A nonprofit fighting loneliness lives in connection. A meditation app has to be a master of serenity. Here's the thing, you cannot be all of these. You have to choose one. And everything you build has to resonate with that core frequency. And this requires a total mindset shift. This is what true clarity looks like. You're not just a tactician building funnels. You are an architect, and you're governing emotional states. You find the feeling first, then you find the rhythm to sustain it. And that, right there, is where you find real sustainable growth. It turns a cold transaction into a deeply felt emotional connection. And that's the difference between a brand that's just tolerated and a brand that's truly loved. So, in the end, this is where the cold logic of neurobiology meets the warm reality of human connection. It's a powerful and, frankly, a much more empathetic way to build a brand that actually lasts. Yeah, the numbers tell us that this kind of priming leads to higher lifetime value and lower customer acquisition costs. That's the math of it. But the human truth is way simpler. Growth isn't a linear, brute force kind of thing. It's learned. It's the result of deeply understanding your customer and building a bridge of empathy over a canyon of data, proving you understand not just what they want to buy, but who they want to become. Because ultimately, the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing at all, does it? It doesn't push people through a funnel with force and friction. It creates an atmosphere of value that is so compelling, so resonant that it just pulls them toward it. You prove that you are a partner in their success, and that is a connection that no amount of data can ever replicate.